Gerardo, do you want to?
Sure. My name is Gerardo. I have 10 or plus years experience in B2B marketing predominantly. For the last 8 or so years, I've worked in big multinational companies, tech companies more specifically. So that's really where my expertise lies, selling software to SMBs and enterprise.
Perfect. Rebecca, you're up last.
So I'm Rebecca Zaytunian. I've been in a range of different industries across B2C and B2B in marketing, but have really spent the last couple of years specializing in that content space and doing content-led marketing as well as kind of business ops and strategy.
Awesome. All right. Well, we had 8 questions coming overnight through from attendees. So I thought we'd kick off there. But if anybody has any questions as we go through, feel free to chuck them in the Q&A and I will keep an eye out so we can throw them in the mix. So first question we're going to start with is, how has your approach to marketing and growth changed as a result of COVID? Kristen, do you want to start?
Sure, I'll be the guinea pig. Ask away. So look, I think particularly in our business, we've been traditionally a sales-led organisation. So moving more towards marketing-led has been a big focus for us in the last 6 months. And using obviously video content has been really helpful. We launched an EVAP program, so employee video advocacy program. So everyone in our team would create video content that was relevant to their roles, but also to not only help engage with lead gen and prospects, but also to help adoption with current clients. So we've definitely shifted more away from the typical job ads as well as our clients have as well, and focus more on content that relates to all things. So we started COVID back in March with 40% of videos created on our platform, and we got 7,000 users, I think, in 53 countries. So their video content was 40% job ads. And over the last 6 months, it's dropped down to between 10 and 15% month on month. But things like learning and dev type videos, internal comms has increased hugely. And then sales. So sales and customer success teams using video to engage better with their prospects and clients. So we've definitely seen a change and pivoted to support that change.
Awesome. Anybody else want to jump in?
I think if I don't mind, I might. So I'm working for Business Australia, which is a member-led organisation and have been for the last 12 months. And for us, COVID was actually an opportunity for us to kind of put our money where our mouth is, for lack of a better term. Being mission-led, we were very much around supporting businesses across Australia. So obviously when COVID hit, it was our opportunity to really kind of do the money where your mouth is and kind of do that from a support. So we changed our whole strategy. We pivoted quite a large launch campaign and introduced a newsroom. And really that was something that we had on our roadmap for later in the year. The whole strategy for Business Australia is to provide content to help and support, and so it is a content led. But we kind of took that newsroom approach that we were meant to do over time as a bit more of a value add and a community play, and brought that forward to be the forefront of all our communication. And really, I think for us, and what was also quite rewarding, is we were getting businesses who were unfortunately at dire straits, didn't know what to do, didn't know what was coming, was really looking for that help and support. And every business had their own kind of lens on that and different approach. So we were able to not only do it at a one-to-one level, but still do mass, and then take our, change the approach for our different channels to market. But we're definitely seeing a lot of, positive feedback on what we've been able to do. And for us in the company, it is definitely that rewarding, but it's accelerated our growth overall.
I think you're right there. I think COVID has really accelerated a lot of things that we were going to do marketing wise, I think. And I think it's made us really think about kind of that value in the community side of it rather than necessarily anything else. So I do think that's one of the nice things that's happened. Brooke, from an agency perspective, have you got anything you wanted to add?
Told me an agency, I'm going to cry.
Sorry.
No. So from probably two perspectives. So one is the sister. So I would love to say we pivoted, but I've actively avoided the word and pivoting. And rightly or wrongly, we've kind of taken the approach that it will eventually go away. Touch wood. I'm maybe the only lunatic in the country that thinks it'll go away, but we've pretty much stayed true to our approach and what we offer as a business. And to take the pressure off, I guess, have talked to the fact that it's a COVID year. Remove the stress, remove the chase new business, remove all of that stuff to just go, you know what? The harsh reality is if we all survive, that's okay. And I think even having that mindset around let's just get through this has taken the pressure off a little bit, because the new business stuff, yes, we're still getting new business and I'm extraordinarily grateful for that. But the ways in which we would historically go about that have kind of moved. Probably that the thing to add so our business essentially runs as a commercial brand team for clients. And I say this with all honesty, we are extraordinarily grateful that a lot of our clients play within FMCG. So different world, can't keep up, volumes going out the door, budgets are still moving. So there are elements to businesses, depending on what your industry are, that some businesses are really hurting and some are thriving. And I think probably what we've seen and what we've discussed with various different people across industries is, I liken it to a little bit back in the brand team where it got to about 2 months before the end of the financial year and all budgets were cut because we've all run out of money. We used to spend probably 3 months thinking, doing strategy, just taking some time to reassess, relook, or use the word pivot, or change if we had to. So from what I've seen out there, there are a lot of certainly brand teams and a lot of companies using the time that, I'll say downtime for use of a better word, but using this time to reassess, rethink. And I think from what I've seen and what I've heard and who I've spoken to, it's a little bit like they're ready to just push the button. So as soon as we get the tick to go, whatever COVID normal looks like and however we're moving forward, there's a lot of people sitting there ready to just press the button because they've had essentially 6 months to think and save some cash. So yeah, it's a strange little place, and I'm in lockdown in Melbourne, so I'm, might poke my eye out with my pen soon, but yeah, there's been positives and negatives of it.
I think it's quite a nice segue into the next question, so I might jump for that, and then Gerardo, you're first up, I think. In terms of what brands or which businesses do you think have done a particularly good job of marketing campaigns during that time? And I think just to give you a minute to think about it, I think the one when I read this that I thought of was the guys at Tribe and what Jules has done with marketers in pajamas. And just that really kind of jumps onto the fact that we're all sat at home, we're all in this together. But he's, the content they've produced around that is fantastic. And it probably wouldn't have happened if we weren't all sat at home. And they have actually been in their pajamas for quite a lot of it too, which I quite appreciate. And, Jules's cat and everything else and everything we talked about earlier in terms of seeing each other's houses and everything that have come out of it. And I think the content's been incredible because of it.
Yep. Look, I for the period that COVID is taking, I actually haven't been practicing marketing. Like Laura, we've been together in this Antler program for quite a while now. I stopped my last job at the end of March, so I've had an entrepreneurial hat. I've been wearing an entrepreneurial hat for the last 6 to 9 months. From a consumer perspective, I've seen brands try to do multiple things to kind of jump and leverage the opportunity that COVID brings in able to position their brand in some sort of shape. I've seen brands fail massively, trying to, come with some random message and try to take a space that it's just that they don't naturally own. But there are some examples that I really like. One was a brewing company in the UK, Brewdog. I don't know if you've seen that one. They very quickly shifted their production line and started producing hand sanitizers, trying to fill bottles of hand sanitizers and helping the health system in the UK. That was beautifully done. The videos that they produced and shared with their community were not highly produced. They were like really homemade pieces of content, and they distributed that throughout social media. And the virality that took was really nice. And I think the success of that was that homemade kind of lens that the videos have, that made them feel very natural and not trying to just capitalize on the opportunity. They were even filling beer bottles with hand sanitizer because they didn't have plastic bottles that you would normally buy your hand sanitizers in. So that was a really good move from a brand that is probably not that big or not that global. I'm a big Nike fan, and I would always like to see what they're doing, and like all the ad campaigns that they produce on the back of COVID are magnificent. I love that. Just trying to bring the world together. I feel like this period of time, it's being a really good opportunity for us just to kind of sit back and find that space to realize how important it is to think about people next to us and kind of move away from consumption and from the day-to-day that work was, or like how life looked before COVID, and start thinking about what we can do and how we can help others. So campaigns like Play for the World or You Can Stop Us from Nike, go and have a look if you haven't seen those. They're beautiful. They're obviously not trying to sell you shoes. At the end, they build some brand, and obviously that's why they do it. But messages are beautiful, and I think they're very relevant for today's time.
Awesome. Has anybody got any others they want to throw in?
I think Seek's taken, I don't know if you guys have seen the latest Seek campaign, obviously with the whole job market and kind of what that's gone through across the nation, and then particularly in like New South Wales and Vic. But Seek launched a campaign and it's an above the line campaign. The TVC came out, I think, this week or a week and a bit ago, where they're taking a more of an education lens, and, you know, talking to people of working from home and how to kind of stay proactive and, you know, and that kind of component. So I don't know if I would say they're doing it well. I don't think they're doing it bad either, but it was just, you know, again, a business that has needed to, sorry, Brooke, I'll say it, pivot. For lack of a better term. But it is interesting how far they've gone, and I would probably say they probably hasn't stretched as far where it's like, wow, this is cool and different and interesting, but they're still addressing a need and identified an insight of, yes, there is a lot of people working from home, staying focused, you know, being productive and those type of things. It's interesting. So yeah, that's one that's caught my attention.
Okay, so on that, next one up, marketing on a budget. Is it possible to do good or successful marketing these days without spending a fortune? And I was going to shoot this one to Rado first, because we're both sat with businesses with no money. But if anyone's got anything to kind of throw in there, I think just to kind of give everyone a second, when I read this, my initial thought was, I actually think that people are more creative without budget, but I think that's probably because I've never had a budget. So it's really hard to say it. But I think if you can't just, you know, put some money behind some ads and hope that people will come through, and you can't buy the awareness, you have to try a little bit harder. So I actually, you can do better marketing without a budget. But, you know, something between nothing and a little bit would be great.
I absolutely agree. And the other thing that I would kind of, when I was reading this question, is what is a fortune, right? Like if like spending $1 million in ads is a no-brainer because you know you're going to get a good return on investment, then it's not really spending, it's more investing. And my approach to marketing is that marketing is not a spend or is not an expense. Like marketing should always be seen marketing as an investment and try to understand how much are you going to get back to every dollar that you spend. So it shouldn't stop you from spending / investing in marketing, as long as you are accurate in your measuring and understanding how much you're going to get back to it from it.
And probably to offer a slightly counter view on that, the harsh reality, especially within corporate environment and especially in FMCG, marketing is a line on a P&L. It's the one that impacts your bottom line straight away. So it's the one thing that gets pulled straight away. And I think there's and we used to challenge our teams on this, there's a role for, and I'll say the collective group, whether it's agencies, all of that around you, to ultimately help bring additional margin so you can spend. And that's probably one of the hurdles, that there's very much a mentality of and I'll get this the wrong way, do you spend, no, I'll get it the wrong way, so I'm not even going to start it. But I think I'm both with you guys. I remember going for job interviews where I'd say I'd rather a brand with $100,000 than a brand with $1 million. Whatever the context is of small budgets, we've done massive campaigns with 100 grand that the PR alone has been enormous. So I think it's kind of admitting that, you know, you can fight all you want as a brand team to get more cash, but the harsh reality is you're probably not going to get it. So it's been really clear on what you do and do the one thing well. And then it's right, how do we be creative? All options are on the cards, because when it's like what you guys were saying, with small budgets comes absolute freedom and you get to be really brave. But you've just got to have a team of people around you that can help you be that brave to use that cash wisely.
Yeah. Kristen, can I pick on you just from a startup point of view? You've definitely had no money and done great things. So
yeah, so we've done a lot with video. So I'm the only salesperson in our business, and we've grown because of the videos. So our clients making videos, we've got a little sneaky little tag on the end that powered by Video My Job. And they're creating thousands and thousands of videos a month. So that's kind of a nice way. Obviously that's not the only thing. It's our team create a lot of videos. And yeah, I suppose I've really hustled through growth. I'll put my hand up and say I'm no marketing expert at all. I've very much relied on a sales-led approach and talking my way into conferences for free. I'll be your videographer, and you know, kind of played the game that way and just met people through networking and. Really knew my ideal customer profile as well. So a lot of my effort went to building networks with those people that my solution can solve their problems. And so we've worked smarter, not harder. Well, it's been hard. Everything scaling is hard, but we've just tried our best to do everything on a budget. We've always had a very tiny budget for marketing, but you know, we've got a few new team members who are really focused on maybe looking into a product-led growth strategy, which you know, we've predominantly been a marketing team, so sales and marketing have been, you know, very joined at the hip, and yeah, kind of everything I do is supported by marketing, and everything they do is to support me in sales. So, yeah, but on a budget, yeah, I think, I don't know, I think you need to know your market and how your product fits to that market.
Yep.
And really know your ideal customer profile, and talk to the problems you solve and stay in your lane. I had all these grandiose ideas about video my home, video my car, video my everything. And we stay in our lane in talent teams, because we know we know that space really well. And yeah, there's opportunity to grow in across those areas, but yeah, I'll shut up now.
No, I think you made some really good points, and I think it was always like you guys identified your audience really early and just did a really good job of focusing on them. But almost like what you're saying is you kind of gave them the solution before you told them that they had a problem with it. Because of how you kind of use video at those events, it was just like, oh, here's a solution, and suddenly like, oh yeah, why aren't we doing something around like that? And I think that's almost nicer than being like, oh guys, did you know you had a problem? It's just like, it's already like, here's a solution, you can do it better. And I think that's really nice. Anybody else got anything they want to add? Cool. All right. This next one's an interesting one. So for those of you who've done freelance or consultancy, sorry, Brooke, what advice would you give someone who's keen to do it, but not sure if they're brave enough to take the leap away from the security of a full-time role? So I read it and I've not done that, but I think the one thing I would say after filming 70 videos this week around people's biggest career mistakes, top tips, all the rest of it, is the biggest thing that's come out of them. There's probably been 2 reoccurring themes, but the biggest one is that backing yourself. And everyone's biggest regret appears to be the fact that they weren't willing to back themselves at some point. And I think kind of building on that slightly, I had a coaching session a while ago. We were talking about failure and a whole bunch of other stuff. And she was like, you're worried about your startup failing. The world is literally burning down around us. And you're really worried that you might have to get a different job in a few months' time. And I was like, oh, when you put it like that, it's fine.
Yep.
I think it goes to that kind of backing yourself, but also putting it into perspective. Like if you give it a go and it doesn't work, what's the worst that can happen, right? Yeah. Anybody got anything more constructive than that to add?
I was thinking about this, and I believe people tend to think that it has to be like a jump from 1 to 100 in one day, and I'll quit my job and tomorrow I'll start doing this new thing. It can be a startup, it can be a consulting or freelance, new life, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be that way. It can be staged, and you can plan accordingly to make it as safe as possible. So that would be number one. So you can stage it, making sure that you get one client, do it well, build a reputation, get some references. But the one thing that is super important for these specific questions, I think, is your personal brand. So start investing in that early, and you can start investing in your personal brand and building your personal brand while you have a full-time job, right? So if you're a marketer, for example, and you're thinking about in the future doing consulting, then join some webinars, ask to be involved in some panels like we're doing today, and slowly start building that reputation within your network so that you can build that brand. And at some point, have that credibility on your own without being backed by a business. So just plan accordingly and make sure that you utilize your network to help you and to support you while you go in that journey.
Having a side hustle.
Yeah.
I think I've spoken to lots of different startups over the course of the last 5 years, and or people thinking about a startup, and it's not all a bed of roses. So it is hard to start up and believe in yourself that much that you're boots in, you're all in. But if you're sitting there in a job that you're really unhappy in, I say give it a go. You know, if you're good at what you do, and startups fail all the time, but you can, the experience that you'll get through that process is invaluable. It's incredible experience, and you learn a lot about yourself, but you'll also learn about business, and you'll also have an opportunity to see if you like it. And it may not be the first or the second, it might be the third. And if you're good at what you do, you always can go back being an employee. Anyone can do that. That's my 2 cents.
Yep.
And probably and whether it's what I've learned, I went all in And I say that, but I had some extraordinarily amazing, supportive people that were in my corner before I got there. And I still remember them talking about that, going, Brooke, we're all in your corner. And I was like, I'm not there yet. But I started a business, and I remember it was about 12 months in that I went, oh, okay, now I'm in my corner. So, and you talk about the consulting, I call it the C word because it's my other hated word that I avoid. But I think have people around you that, if in times where you just are going, what am I doing? That they're going to keep, cheerleading. And we use the phrase Laura, cheerleading, because sometimes you need some cheerleaders in this. And it sounds really silly, but a bit of validation goes a long way, even as a 42-year-old. I think the one thing I learned though is I went all in, but I never thought of myself as a startup, and I never thought of myself as a small business. I was running like I was a corporate. And I think that, coupled with then the network and all of that sort of stuff, I acted like I'd been here for 20 years. I'd never been a consultant. I've worked in corporate land in the safety of a safe desk and a wage. So I think it was just a mindset that I look back now and go, I think that was really invaluable. And I think about people that I know that have done some freelance stuff and sort of started little bits on the side. And it's a silly example, but it's having an email address set up. And if you're a business, bloody look like you're a business. So I'm not saying you need a giant office, but have a logo or have an email address that isn't, I was going to say something really rude, but isn't a Hotmail address from 1996. Because there's a little bit of success breeds success. And if you look like you're playing the game, then rightly or wrongly, sometimes that will follow you without you having to necessarily chase it.
I like that. Okay. All right, next one. Best resources, or what do you guys do in terms of upskilling and staying up to date with things? I must admit, I've always got 27 tabs open on my desktop of articles I haven't read.
Yeah.
But I think, and like Brooke will know from being in the marketing academy together, I think a lot of it for me, and go back to it, is having those cheerleaders, but having that network and like listening to what everyone else is up to, and kind of really getting involved with what peers are doing in their marketing departments, or what campaigns and things they're running. I think for me is always a key one.
But it's also knowing, I think, where you learn and where you take the motivation. And we go back to the Marketing Academy. I've still got in my book the 8 billion TED Talks and books I'm supposed to read and how to be the best version of myself. I'm terrified by that, because I'd rather just scroll on Instagram and go, I like those shoes. So it's whatever floats your boat. And I get more learning from being surrounded by smart people that know way more stuff than I do, because ultimately that's going to teach me things or make me think a little bit different, because I can read a book 50 times and I guarantee I can't remember the start of it. So it's being clear on how you learn and what floats your boat, I think.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree. Networking would be a big one. Particularly, I think if somebody's interested from a marketing point of view, marketing is a beast. And there are so many different facets of marketing in so many different industries and kind of business types. And I think having that opportunity to talk to people in roles or kind of scopes that could be interesting is probably where I've, especially over the last 18 months, I've gone in through professional coaching or career coaching and trying to really even, finding my groove. Like, I've been in marketing for 15 years and there's still that element of I've got more to give, but I just don't know if I'm in the exact right role or what this is going to look like. And I'm almost open to knowing that that's still going to take some time to figure that out. But having the conversations with the people who are in roles that do inspire me or do, cool shit. Sorry, I was the first one to drop the swear word. But that kind of inspiration and where that kind of leads in an industry that sparks interest. And yeah, so I would agree it is networking for sure.
I think with the networking piece as well, for me, is like you get the honest answers rather than like what you've read online.
Mm.
I think, as much as, like any event you put together, even if the outcome's good, you probably messed up a whole bunch of times on the way there. And if you actually talk to someone, they're going to tell you about where they went wrong, rather than just reading an article of someone telling you how great it was when it happened. Which I think is the other thing. I don't think is sales and marketing people in general, we're not very good at telling people what we're not good at. We just like to tell them what we've succeeded at. All right. Next one that was submitted. Any tips for efficiently and effectively measuring the success of growth? Monthly reports for the board can become a huge task. Any ways to consolidate it? If anyone's got the answers to that, I'm super open to hearing it. It's like I feel like I spend lives in spreadsheets.
I think it's just one of those things that we've all probably thought of ways to avoid it or easier ways, but no.
I mean, from my experience and working in a B2B world, I was always pushing my teams and my managers to agree on the one or two metrics that were important, and then just focusing on that. And that's what I try to do here now that that I have my own startup, and we're trying to identify what are the things that we need to be measuring on a week-to-week basis. What is our North Star, and agreeing, like having everyone agree on that specific metric so that anything else can be put aside and it's a distraction that no one should be looking at. When I was working for big tech companies, the key measurements from a marketing side were how many leads we were bringing into the business, how much pipeline we were moving through, dollars we were moving through the pipeline, and how much we were helping close. So through those three were kind of the key things that I was always constantly thinking on. I was always reporting on, but it takes, and I mean, we can go into the depths of which tools do we use, and data is in different systems, and how are we gonna make sure that we're looking at reliable data, and that's probably a conversation for another time. So I guess where I'm going is aligning and making sure that everyone around you, including your manager and CEO level, whatever, is in agreement of what it is that we should be looking and measuring. That is probably the first step in order to kind of then create a cadence and go back and looking at the numbers and creating a history so you can track performance moving forward.
I think also the numbers are important, and I definitely don't want to dismiss that, but particularly with a marketing lens, I think you've got your commercial aspect to it, but it's the insights you extract from those numbers that I would say you probably need to sweat a little bit more. And again, it's not that the numbers aren't important. The data is there and it's there for a reason, but what are you extracting out of that that's going to help you increase those numbers, or what's wrong, or how do we make this better, or where do we change? And that's probably the one thing that I try and teach my team is, let's get all our numbers right. Let's make sure the data is correct. But then when we are reporting, I agree, it needs to be as simple as possible, because you can get lost with all those information, all those numbers. But what are we going to take out of that to then inspire that next action, and get there faster?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. The numbers are there to start a conversation.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Like, you can go to numbers for numbers for the sake of it, right? You can have spreadsheets on spreadsheets, but I like the idea of, almost having those, like you say, like the three. What three are we focusing on right now? And they might change, like you say, like depending what's going on in the business, but just not getting bogged down and just producing numbers for the sake of it. And there's so many vanity metrics and stuff out there as well.
Oh yeah.
We can make the numbers say whatever we want sometimes. All right. So the last question is one that Rich submitted, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't like it, so I'm going to throw it out to you guys.
I love that co-founder honesty.
I know. I only know because he's my work person. What do you think is the most effective marketing strategy when you're launching a new business from zero? See, Brooke's face said it all. Thanks, mate.
So, I literally no idea.
Do you know the worst bit is I read it and I sent him a message being like, I know it was you.
I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Mine was network. And I think I underestimated the enormity of the network, but B, given that we act as a brand team, I kind of figured the brand team would actually be probably the first point of call, but it's been the ops guys, the product development guys, the sales guys, who they've actually been the biggest network. And I think we were joking about this. So own a marketing company, do zero marketing on my own business. But we were laughing about that as a team the other day. And we were talking about, well, where does our work come from? Most of my work to begin with came from sport. And it came from my own personal Facebook page going, hey, I've started a business. That's me typing. I guess if it's the network outside of the corporate world that you instinctively want to help each other out. And I think I certainly underestimated that network as being something that would kind of push things my way, because you ultimately want to look out for each other. So, yeah, for me, it's network.
Yeah, we were the same. Before we even had a price for our product, we really understood the problem we were solving, defined the ICP, handpicked a couple of clients to work with us on an early, trial to prove the evidence, to suggest that what we were solving is actually working, and then celebrate those as case studies. And that I still use some of those case studies today, because it works. Having your clients as advocates of what you do is the ultimate marketing strategy, I think, especially if early days you can really start to frame that up, and that becomes your go-to market, and you can just hang your hat on that every time and add value to your network as well. But yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And to your point, Kristen, before, like identifying, like having a really, really solid view on who your target audience is just so important. And also being honest with yourself and not fooling yourself into knowing that, or kind of fooling yourself into thinking that you've solved and I've identified your target audience and your product is perfect for the kind of problem that you're solving. It's gonna take a long time before you get there. So the more you lean into your network to kind of solve those questions and bring work together with your network to get feedback and try to find product fit as fast as possible, that is going to help you early days a lot. I think being customer centric is another one that is kind of associated to that, but trying to always go back and put yourself in the shoes of your customer. What are they thinking? Is the problem that you're trying to solve is how painful it actually is, or you just like trying to make your business work because you have an idea and you're in love with that idea, or you're actually trying to solve a problem that people are feeling and it's really, really painful. So the more honest you are with yourself, the more customer centric you are, then you're going to start seeing kind of the ball roll, and then you can start putting money into things that you know are going to bring some return on investment. There are some tactical things that you can do at the beginning, that things like investing early in organic reach. Platforms like LinkedIn, for example, these days have quite good organic reach. So LinkedIn is a really good platform to kind of spend a couple of dollars, ads. Also use your profile and go on pages and post there. Like the organic reach that you get in platforms like LinkedIn today is really good. So that's gonna help you not spend a lot of your budget and also get more feedback back from your buck. And the one last thing that I would say that is super important for startups is to for marketers to work very, very closely with the product team. Marketers listening to every little piece of feedback that you get from interactions with your customer, and then passing that feedback into the product team and making sure that you're building that product based on customer feedback, and the iterations that you're taking out to market have those feedback in place, and so that it's kind of a constant cycle. So early days, marketing and product working together is super, super important.
I think it's the whole way through, not even just early days, but I appreciate we're talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
launching a business. But yeah, for me, it is very much around the listening as the acting. And I totally agree, like marketing and sales and product all working together. And I kind of look at that similar to the same approach you would do with your product or service ideation. It's just an evolution of when you first just, came up with that idea or that product of what you were going to do to take to market before you're taking it to market.
Because new business is always flying the plane and building it at the same time. So I completely hear what you're saying there, Rebecca. It rings true for me, for sure.
Awesome. Actually, that was I quite like I like the answers a lot more than I like the question. Okay, so that was it for questions submitted. The question that we finished on the panel this morning with the product guys was Rich asked everybody what was the one piece of career advice that they wish that they wanted to give, and that's how we're going to finish all these videos. So if we could go around and do that, don't mind who wants to start. It's a big one. But yeah, just to wrap up.
I can go first. I'm gonna say the same one that I shared with you on the videos, Laura, and is stay curious. Say yes to opportunities as they come along. You don't have to say yes to everything, but the more open you are to experiencing new things, doing that extra little project at work, learn if that gives you an opportunity to learn something new, just go for it. Go be curious, and that will open the door to more things.
I can jump in. Mine is similar to what I've said in my video as well, but I guess it's advice that I got, but then also that I'd pass on is don't take, hard work literally. And what I mean by that is, yes, we all need to work hard. We wouldn't be where we are. We won't continue to be where we're going to go if it wasn't with hard work. But don't take that as a reason to burn yourself out and run yourself into a ground. I think that comes with, I'll say age, but a maturity approach of looking at that more strategically and a bit more clever in what that means. So yeah, definitely don't take hard work as what it, that literal approach, because you can actually burn out and have a bit more of a positive spin on it.
That's what I said too in my video, Rebecca.
Yeah, cool.
I've just gone through a separation. So 18 months ago we separated. So whether it was a mix of things, whether it was not the right guy, I'll make that probably not. But also, I work a lot of hours. Managing 24 time zones in Australian-based hours is really tough. So making sure that you cut out part of your day to manage that workflow and give yourself back the time. So I'm an avid meditator, so I meditate 2 or 3 times a day and probably ground myself before every meeting, just a minute's worth. So having that really honest, authentic self at work. Anytime you're using your brain or having a really important meeting, it's super crucial that you're in the moment during those decision making or meetings that are going to really help you perform. So my career advice would be, it's taking the time to smell the roses, and meditation is a definite way to reset and make sure that you're bringing your best self to work or whatever decisions that you've got to do.
Mine. So I have two that, I've actually got three, but I've got two that are always my ones that I just go off on a tangent. I told you I'd do it, Laura. Two that I always, and I fundamentally have a absolute belief in, is surround yourself with people that know way more stuff than you. If you're the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I think to build on that, if you're building teams, for God's sake, don't build a team of people like yourself. We instinctively kind of gravitate towards people that have similar styles and personalities because it's easy. But if I built a team of people that were exactly like me, we would have fun, but the execution would just stop. So we'd spend a lot of time on whiteboards, but it would kind of stop there. The other piece of advice, which is something that I rarely say, but I think about it often, and it comes from a place of the burnout, like you girls were talking about, a marriage breakdown, turning 40, just a full meltdown of life, but something both career and outside of work, which is around being brave enough to say you need help, but being absolutely vulnerable enough to accept it. And they're two very different things, but together are extraordinarily powerful. Because I work with a girl who said she's never worked in a business where they've kind of looked at the positives and have always only focused on the negatives, which bred the idea that you're almost too afraid to say that you need help. And if you can flip that and see the positive in going, I don't know what to do here, I need help in whatever that is, but being really vulnerable enough to accept that you don't know everything despite what you think you do, that's a really, really powerful idea.
That's all awesome advice. Thank you, guys. We haven't had any more questions, so unless you guys have got anything, I will let you all go for the day. Awesome. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate your time and everything you've had to say.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
It's been great.
Bye.
Okay.